welcome to the latest episode of Southside Stories, the podcast where we interview leaders, entrepreneurs, founders, generally very interesting people from around this part of London. And just a reminder, as I always say, if you, wherever you're listening or watching, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. Lots of great guests coming up. Including today, this afternoon, we've got Deborah from LoveReading. Hello, Deborah.
Hi there, Matt.
We are going to enter for about half an hour or so the world of books, reading, education, and all the great work that you do, Deborah. But let's kick off with just tell us a little bit about you, Deborah. Where are you based? Just give us the kind of little snapshot of the LoveReading company that you work for or with. Or
yeah, absolutely. I'm based in Greenwich, in Shooters Hill in Greenwich. And my background, today I run a company called LoveReading, which is an online bookstore with social purpose. But I've had a bit of a squiggly career, if you like, in media. I started in media in the 90s, selling classified advertising space at Condé Nast. It was the days of the smile and the dial, no computers, a box of cards, generate some revenue. And then worked in media for quite a few years. But I launched my first company, the Media Sales House, when I had my son, and the days of flexibility weren't here yet. And so when they didn't give me the 4 days a week, I threw my toys out the pram a bit. I went, fine, I'll do something. And went, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And so my first business, the Media Sales House, was born back in 2009. And that's Great. Very much been, led me to where I am today. Yeah.
It's funny, actually, because there's been a few people on this podcast who've started in media sales, and I can think of a few of my friends that have done that as well. It's doing a sales job is quite useful for later in life. Do you think?
I think every day we're selling in whatever we do, whether it's selling yourself, whether it's a product, it's a service. And it was a tough start, but you know what? It was the best grounding. And I think, especially in this day and age, I think being able to sell yourself and your business and your proposition is more important than ever. And I think it will continue to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
As the years
It's funny because my nephew's he's coming up for graduation, and we were talking about his first job. And I said to him, you could probably do worse than just getting a good sales job to start off with, because it's just a skill, dealing with people, dealing with rejection, numbers, metrics. It's a great branding, I think.
It really is.
But then you've kind of gone from media through to, did you do publishing in the publishing industry as well before here?
I've ran commercial teams within publishing houses, but I wasn't a publisher as such. I'd wanted to always go into journalism. I was a teenager going, I want to be the next Kate Adie. I want to be a journalist on the warfield. And that didn't ever really materialize, obviously. But I had high-level commercial roles in publishing houses. But now in the book world, and what it was, a serendipitous call came into my agency in 2018. And these two guys had bought LoveReading from the liquidators and weren't quite sure where to take it. And they called me to help them with that. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the proposition. I felt I had huge potential, and it ticked a lot of boxes for me. And it's been a big part of my life for the last 7 years.
Oh, great. That's a great segue. So tell us about LoveReading then. What is it? What does it do? What do you solve? Yeah, give us a lowdown.
Yeah, it's changed dramatically over the years, actually. When we first got our hands on it, it was a book recommendation website that published reviews of books. But actually today it is an online bookstore. So it's lovereading.co.uk. And we help people find and shop their next favorite book. So we've got a team of people who are curating lists of great books right across the genres, right across the age ranges, from baby toddler through middle grade up to young adult and beyond. And what we do is we enable people to make a difference while they shop. So if you buy a book with us, you get 10% off as standard, and you have the ability to donate 25% of your spend to a school, all at no cost to you. So the proposition very much is buy a book, support a school, make a difference. And so far, we've donated £100,000 worth of free books in school.
That is really impressive. Well done on that. That's fantastic. Just, when you just rewinding the clock slightly, when those guys said, first approached you, what was it about books, reading? What is it about that area that you particularly love?
There were multiple reasons, actually. I fell in love with reading at a very young age. Excuse me, let me just fix that. I fell in love with reading from a very early age. We didn't have any money really growing up, but my mum bought me a set of Bramley Hedge books for my 5th birthday. I've still got them now. And I fell in love with reading. And then she took me to the library, and my lifelong love of books was cemented. So there was the fact that I was an avid reader and continue to be an avid reader. I also had young children. I mean, my son's now 17, my daughter's 13, but they were very young readers then. And I was struggling to find the books that spoke to them. I was sort of trying them with books that I knew and loved when I was a kid. And they were like, Mum, this is really this is rubbish, So I was sort of in that point of going, how do I find good books for my kids? And the final piece of the puzzle was that I'd been a school governor at that point for about 3 years. And I was seeing the challenges in schools. And, I've now been a governor for a decade, and it's getting harder and harder. And for me, I was seeing the challenges schools were facing, but the impact that reading has. And I had been looking for my why for a while. It was really weird. I was sort of background in media sales, working as a sales consultant, built my own business, but it wasn't fulfilling me as much as I hoped it was. And for a while, I sort of thought I might retrain and go down the education route because I was loving that school governor piece so much. And then this presented itself, and I was like, oh my goodness, this ticks all 3 boxes. This could be my why. And the rest is history.
Wow, that's fantastic. Because so many people don't get that, do they? I mean, so many people, we always compromise somewhere, but to find the subject matter, the educational piece, and sort of, you've still got that entrepreneurial part of going out and building a business and selling it. You've still got that bit in there as well.
I mean, absolutely. I honestly, anyone that gives me the opportunity to get on my soapbox and talk like this, I feel very blessed. 1 minute we're, recording a podcast. The next minute I'm judging some children's book awards. The next day I'm, and so I have got an incredible job that has been impossibly hard to build. It's been a roller coaster ride. But me and my 2 business partners, I'm now a 3rd shareholder in the business with them. I believe this has absolutely got the space to go places because of what we inherited and what we've built since that day. And I'm really excited about the future.
Awesome. Well, let's go a bit deeper into it then. Let's just go back. Finding a book. You talked about curating books. Now, it is a challenge, isn't it? I mean, there's the choice paradox. You walk into a bookshop, or you don't know where to start on Amazon, and I think a lot of people just go for quite a few people just go for whatever's on the front table or the celebrity book. I mean, there's a big challenge there in finding a book. I mean, what are the challenges, do you think, to finding a great read, and how do you connect me and children with a great book?
Yeah, so I think for you and I, let's tackle that first because that's a little bit easier, if you like. I think for us, it's cutting through the noise. I think people come to us, they subscribe to us, and they visit us because they trust our recommendations. We've got a great team who curate brilliant selections. And so for us, they know that we are an independently trusted team, and they love our reviewers, and they know that if we shout about something, we're giving it the LoveReading stamp of approval. And it's about creating content around that. So Q&As, it's about highlighting debut authors, it's about helping people find a book based on other books they've enjoyed. Our algorithm helps with that. But also it's about curating content to help them find that. So you can almost use LoveReading as your search engine to put grief or friendship or magical realism or autism in there and find collections of books to help support your need and your want. So that's for you and I, it's really collecting newly published titles every month and highlighting new things that are out on there on the bookshelves. You can still search for a book. You could still put Nick Hornby in there and find all of his books. And if you know you're looking for a particular author and you love Karen Slaughter, you can find all of her books there, but we curate recommendations too. But I think the sweet spot for us is the kids piece, because it's a minefield. There is little coverage out there for children's books. Column inches in the national press is in huge decline. Yet there are loads of brilliant books being published, 10,000 books a year in the UK for kids.
Wow.
And it's really important that you get a book at the right reading level for them, because if you give them a book without any pictures, that's like really, really thick, and that they're a new reader, you're not reading it together, that could put them off reading forever. So it is about, making sure that if you've got a 5-year-old that is a newly independent reader, then you can come to the 5+ section of LoveReading for Kids and go, right, this is exactly right. We show opening extracts of books, so you can check what the pages look like, what space is on the page, what word counts on the page, what the illustrations look like. And so that's really important. And when we've read it, we will give it an accurate level, an accurate age range there, so that you're making sure that we make the right decisions. So that's the first bit. But then you've got finding books that speak to them. Going back to me trying to put Stick of the Dump in my son's hands, and he was having none of it. It's about finding books that kids of today will identify with, finding characters within their pages that speak to them, seeing names like theirs on the cover of books. And, historically, a lot of those underrepresented children just did not appear in books. We need to make sure that we've got the diversity and inclusion and differing perspectives to help children build empathy and make themselves aware of the world and the people around them. And that is very much part of what we do, shouting about those books that might otherwise struggle to get into the press.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, in my head, it's almost like the online version of, I'm just thinking of a couple of my favorite physical bookshops. And when I go in there, if the staff have put a little thing saying, we've read this and here's a comment, it's like, I always go to those first because, I love the bookshop and I trust them. So I guess it's a little bit like that with you, isn't it? You've built up this trusted group of people that are curating the books, and it makes it a lot easier to find the right, most relevant book, because that's really important. I mean, kids have it's so different now to our day with all the competing media, isn't it? TikTok and YouTube and 100 other things, gaming. What you've just spoken about, making it relevant, including more minority readers, that's super part of making this relevant to them and encouraging reading.
Yeah, it is. We're in a reading crisis in this country. The National Literacy Trust had a report come out a few months ago, basically saying that reading for pleasure in children is at the lowest levels since records began. And look, there's a lot of reasons for that. We're busier. Parents aren't having the time to read to their kids as much as maybe they used to have. Children, particularly teens, have got more phones, and books are having to compete with so much else. I mean, I joke with my kids. We had 4 channels, and I'd run home and watch Home and Away and Neighbours, and that'd be it. And so you had the time to read and the space to read. So it's really important that we help children fall in love with reading, help them find books, because one book will lead to another book, will lead to another book, and before you know it, they're a reader for life. So we can't be snobby about book choice. We need to let the children decide. We need to make sure whatever they're reading, whether it's a graphic novel, whatever it is, whether it's fiction, whether it's non-fiction, whether it's a newspaper, whether it's the back of a cereal packet, they're reading.
Do you ever get their voices? I mean, maybe the older ones. Do their voices ever appear anywhere on the site or the reviews or making comments? Or
yeah, we do. We've got about 1,000 kids on our reader panel, and quite often publishers will want to get books into the hands of readers before they're published, to either get quotes from the kids that they can use in their marketing, and just to get a feel for the book. So yeah, we do. And once they're part of that panel, they'll be offered books within their age range, and they'll be offered opportunities to interview the authors. So we have a series of author interviews where one of our event chairs interviews. Well, they chair the event, but the kids interview the authors and the illustrator, and that's just pure gold, right? These kids are getting the opportunity to
fantastic
to interview them, and it's the best bit. It's the best bit.
Yeah, I'm sure that's inspiring a few new authors as well at some point. Those kind of experiences. Tell us a little bit more about the schools then, because you've done this amazing work with raising money for schools. Tell us a couple of the different ways that you, apart from the pure fundraising piece, I think you work directly with schools. How does that piece work?
Yeah, so we have 14,000 schools that are signed up to use our platform. So when you go to Love Reading for Kids, there's a login for a school. Once the school has logged in, they will be able to access their whole dashboard of tools, of content, best practice content around how to engender a reading for pleasure culture in their school. There'll be Q&As with authors. It will be how to run a book club. It will be all sorts of, upload reviews from your children, how to recruit school librarians and help them support the library. So when they log in, they can access all of this content, but they can also share our tools with their audience. So they can, for example, let's say they've got no money for books, which we know most schools don't. They can create a wish list of books that they'd like gifted to them and share it with their community. They can share recommended reading lists that we've curated. So every year we update our recommended reads for year 7. They can share them with the parents and say, if you're looking to buy any books for the children in your life, here are some great recommendations from Love Reading for Kids. And don't forget, if you purchase books from them, you can donate 25% to us as a school. So we're seeing lots of schools utilize all of the tech that we've built to enable them to fund reading for pleasure. We've even got a donate button where anyone can donate to a particular school or to schools in need. We had a school that has an organization that has reading volunteers in their local school as part of their social value piece. And they recently donated £2,000 to that school so that school could go on the dashboard and spend that money straight away on new books for their classrooms and their libraries. So we've really taken the knowledge that I've had with a decade of being a school governor.
Yeah.
And really tried to build a platform to enable them to create a new funding scheme.
That's awesome. I mean, what a great resource. In fact, as you were talking, I was just thinking about a friend of mine who's a teacher in primary school. The first thing I'm going to do after this podcast is tell her about this, because I'm sure she would find this absolutely fantastic. Let's move from that amazing work you're doing, just the nitty gritty of business, if you like, because of course there's the big guys out there, right? The Amazons and Waterstones, I guess, as well, are still going. Often people shop. Sometimes people go to a bookshop and then they go online and they find it cheaper on Amazon. I mean, how do you? You've talked really, I think, about this already, but how do you compete with those online retailers, especially?
It's really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
We are small fry, but we believe we've got the potential to become a big player. I feel like we're a small independent with a great proposition. And because we've got social purpose at our heart, we feel the message is quite compelling. There'll be some people that won't necessarily care about price, and want to shop and do good, and do good for our kids, for the next generation. So by providing this way of making a positive impact, we're hoping that we will build, to be a much bigger contender. And actually, on the idea of price, we've recently gone live on the Amazon shopping. Google shopping. So when you go to Google, we now appear as a retail option. And actually, what you see really quickly is that we more than compete on price. Because we offer 10% off as standard, in most cases, we're cheaper than Amazon and Waterstones, because we're giving all of our profit back to the schools. So we believe that all of the work that we've been doing on SEO and getting the message out there will start to bear a lot of fruit. And people will see, actually, not only am I making a difference by shopping with LoveReading, but actually it's competitive in terms of price as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking, God, every parent, every school should be doing this. I mean, with the 25% back to schools,
yeah,
it's kind of like a no-brainer, especially if the price is more or less the same as what I can find elsewhere. But so you talk about finding distribution, spreading the word. You talked about SEO. How else do you get the message out there?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges we have. We don't have a marketing budget. We don't have a social value manager. Most of what we deliver is because of brilliant partnerships with amazing organisations. We work with every major literacy charity in the UK because we align so very perfectly, with what they're trying to do, which is get more kids reading. A lot of them are affiliates of ours. We've got a great affiliate program that publishers, authors, illustrators, brands can join if they're wanting to create any content around books. So that's a great way of us getting that message out there. We're a media partner for most of the big book awards, and I judge several of the awards as well. And whenever we have the opportunity to be invited on podcasts like this, or we were filming last week at the BBC, when we're invited onto radio, we grab it with both hands because it's a great opportunity. All we need is that one thing that will make the difference. So a lot of it is about organically getting the message out there, making sure we're creating the right content to be found on Google, and proactively taking the opportunities that present themselves.
I was just thinking, actually,
I wish we had more.
Do you have any PR? Do you have any PR capability? Because you're so knowledgeable about this area, and I can imagine you being on whatever that radio program is going to be, or TV, whatever, at the BBC. I can imagine you being, the expert that's really speaking with authority with all this governor experience, and then, this the love reading as well. Somehow sort of PR and an agency. I know, but it's hard, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the challenges, isn't it? Is how do you find the money to spread the word?
It exactly is. It is, because for us, everything's been about reinvesting it back in and building the platform that we think is going to take this stratospheric. And it's been about keeping the team really super lean. We've got an incredible team, but we're very lean. We all do a lot of things. And we absolutely need the PR, but I'm not doing it until we're in exactly the right place, where I think actually this is going to be the one thing that's going to make the difference. So it has been very much like a juggling act, trying to make sure it's the right things at the right time. And every decision we make is this right for now, or is something else more important, and yeah, PR is absolutely in the plan. But we're not quite there yet with the product. We're relaunching some new iterations this autumn, which we think is going to really make it absolutely tip top. And then we'll be going for it.
Great. And if in an ideal world, if you could, I don't know, next 2-3 years time frame, I think you said 17,000 schools now.
So we've 14,000.
14,000.
Yeah, 14,000 schools. And we have about 18,000 practitioners within those schools who are subscribing and engaging with the content.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where would you like to be, in an ideal, in a realistic but / ideal world in the next couple of years? Where would you like to get it to?
I think it's absolutely realistic that every school in the UK will be using our platform. Yeah. I absolutely think that's eminently achievable. Because whenever I go into a school, and I'm in a lot of schools, whenever I go in, honestly, especially secondary schools who tend to have librarians, they're like, love reading for kids. We love you. I'm on your website every day, trying to work out what age range to put this book in and what year group this book would be perfect for. So we know that librarians love it. The message is really getting out there to enable the SLT, in the decision makers in the schools, to understand the value of what this could bring, the business managers in the schools to understand the value this could bring as a revenue stream. That's the missing gap. But I absolutely believe that is eminently achievable to be in every school.
Great. I've got to ask you this, actually. Before I do that, so just educate me a bit. So there are business managers in schools. There's a thing called a business. Is that a typical thing in a school?
Yeah. But back in the day, it will have been, some schools would have maybe had a bursar, it might have been part of the office manager's role. But schools have business managers who are almost like the finance manager. They will run the office team and they will run the grounds team, and they will be responsible for the HR elements on site. So
and that's a key.
That.
Okay, and that's a key person that a decision maker that you need to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Well, I've got to ask you this as well. Favorite books? And what's the favorite book right now for? let's do an adult. One for an adult and one for. I know it's who is the adult? What interests them. But what's an outstanding? What's something that you've perhaps loved as an adult recently?
Let me just think. Yeah, do you know what I've just finished and I absolutely loved it? Kit Duvall, The Best of Everything. Oh my goodness! If you've not read anything by her, it's unbelievable. It's based in the 1970s. It follows this auxiliary nurse who's from St. Kitts, and it is all about her losing the love of her life, and it's grief, it's resilience, it's about the transformative power of kindness. Honestly, it was one of the most tender books I've ever read. I honestly didn't want it to end. That's brilliant. One of my rules, right, is that I never read anything back to back. So after reading a real literary gem, I'll then normally go, right, I want a psychological thriller. So I then followed that and I finished it a couple of nights ago with a brilliant psychological thriller called Be Mine by a author called Lizzie Barper. And it just had twists and turns, and it flips between two time frames in LA to London. And I couldn't put it down. I read it in about 2 nights. It was just brilliant. So yeah, just there's some great stuff being published. So both of those would come highly recommended by me.
And are both of those for adults?
Yeah, both of those for adults. Yeah.
That's great. I know 2 big readers in my family, so I'll be passing those recommendations on. What about a couple of children's selections?
Yeah, do you know? I don't know whether you know an author called Tom Percival. Let me see if I've got.
Name rings a bell.
Now he's known for his picture books, and he's won all sorts of awards for his picture books, and they're amazing. It's all about empathy building, and all of those, everything from anxiety to oh god, they're just beautiful picture books, absolutely beautiful. But last year he published his first full-length novel, and honestly, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It actually tackles things that are real here and now. It's about poverty, and the main character in it, is called The Wrong Shoes because he hasn't got the right shoes. He's got no money, and he struggles with friendship, but the themes in it are unbelievable. And actually, we when we talked about this as a team, we all read it and were just so moved by it. We were like, do you know what? This needs to be read by everyone in education in this system. Everyone needs to read this book. It just gives you such an insight into those underrepresented children, and how some of them are living in current climate, and it's absolutely amazing. It's amazing. So Tom can do no wrong in my eyes.
I missed the title of that one. So it's Tom Percival as the author.
It's called The Wrong Shoes.
Oh, The Wrong Shoes. Okay.
Yeah, The Wrong Shoes. Right. It's absolutely brilliant. Perfect for sort of 9 plus, 11 plus. Just brilliant. Really, really great.
Yeah. Great. We'll put some links to the LoveReading site for those in the descriptions. Great. Tell me about your journey then. So, you had this great media career, sales, then you've been doing Love Reading and building this really successfully. Congrats on the momentum, by the way. 14,000 schools, 17, 18,000 practitioners, going great guns, got some great ambition. What have been some of your learnings doing this over the last couple of years?
Apart from don't do it. No, I joke. Do you know what? I think one of the biggest things is be brave. I think there have been so many times where, it would have been very easy to just give up or, so I think be brave. I think adapt. I think, I think the ability to adapt is everything. I think, markets change, technology evolves, customer needs shift, and I think having to be agile and stay curious and keep an eye on what's going on around you and what the competition is doing, I think that is definitely part of it. There are so many, honestly, I could go on. Purpose, find your purpose. I think if you can find a business that has a clear mission and value, and, for your team to know why, beyond making the money, because that's a nice to have, but, that will help you guide every decision you make. So I think that's really important. And probably the last one, I won't go on all day, is relationships. I think relationships build business. And I think make sure you build a strong network of clients and of partners, because every opportunity that I think is going to be the one that takes us is because of a conversation like this, right? Who knows who's listening? Who knows where it will take you? Who knows where where that opportunity will go? And I think the trust and the integrity and the generosity that you give and that you treat others with, I think will stand you in good stead. I just think treat other people like you want to be treated yourself. And I think that, I know it sounds really obvious, but not enough people do it.
No, I think that's very true. How many people are in the team?
We've got a core team of 6 of us, and then we've got a roster of freelancers who are just awesome book experts. They've, been sort of judging, the Carnegie Book Awards for years, or they've been a school librarian for 30 years. And we're really lucky because, people come to us. I mean, we're in a really lucky position where people come to us and say, can we get involved? How can we help? Can we join the team? How can we support? So the team believe in this as much as I do. And that's really, really unique.
Fantastic. How would you say your leadership style has changed? Maybe it hasn't changed.
No, it definitely has. It definitely has. I think when you're a part of a big business, right, I think you've got space and time and resource that enables you probably to be a bit of a better leader. I do. I think, sometimes I worry that I'm not as strong a leader as I could be because, you're juggling a million and one things running a small business before that small business has made it. So I think I was probably more methodical, more process driven because and maybe a better leader because there were more resources I could tap into or departments to call upon or colleagues to collaborate with. And I think being a transformational leader, which is very much the role I've been playing, is very different because you're so focused on trying to inspire and motivate the teams to innovate and grow and encourage us to think differently. And that's not always easy. And I think building a business where you're not cash rich, there are instances where you have to be much more laissez-faire with your leadership, give them guidelines and the systems and the processes they need to be successful. And obviously know that you're there for support, but I've got to trust them to get on with it and give them the freedom to be able to operate. So I think it's night and day and not always good, because of circumstance.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are good. But you're right. Though I was just thinking as you were talking that maybe you described it perfectly. Actually, in a bigger organisation, you have got all this resource and support around you, and it's very different from when you're running your own business and you are the figurehead and you're the person driving it. Because I don't know, the leadership's kind of more on show. The impact of your leadership is much more direct, and you've got to, in a big company, you've got all the machinery of the big goals and everything around you, and so everybody's aware of those, and you're pushing, hopefully, towards them. Whereas in a smaller company, you should still have that, of course.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, it's great that you talk about you're kind of empowering your team and all that great stuff, but also a lot of it's got to generate from you, isn't it? That forward propulsion.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's tough. It is tough at times. It really is.
Yeah.
But it's not for everyone. I mean, me and my husband joke about it all the time. He's always worked within big, huge, media organizations, and that's brilliant for him. He could not do this. I think you have to be able to compartmentalize, otherwise you never achieve anything. And my running is my savior. I just get out, and empty my head, and I do a lot of my thinking pounding the pavements.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I was thinking the other day I was running, and I live quite near the river, and it's just very therapeutic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the best idea is because your head clears out, and then it sort of allows new ideas to come into your head. I find that with running a lot.
Definitely, I do as well. Yeah, it's great.
Final question, Deborah. A leader or mentor to you, somebody that's been really had a positive impact on your professional life. And we ask everybody this. Who springs to mind when I ask you that?
Do you know what? I don't have as many as I would like to have. And my husband says that because I'm a tough audience. But there is one person I've got to mention who has been really brilliant. We've not done a huge amount of work together, but I absolutely need to do more. She is co-founder of a company called the Condor Collective, and author of a book, actually, which we read recently called Cracking Culture. And her name's Paula Mitchell. I met Paula through a mentoring and networking organization I'm a member of and have been for a few years. And do you know what? Within 10 minutes of talking to her, I was just like, you get it. You get me and you get this. And whenever I spend time with her, we just manage to cut through everything and reflect and work on things. And, and I'm so grateful for her input into my journey. Thanks, Paula.
Fantastic. And sounds like you have told her. Will you tell her, or have you told her how much you value her inputs?
Yeah, and probably not enough. I mean, I'm not working with her right now, and I haven't worked with her for a while, but it's absolutely something I will do again in the future. She's great. She's great. And if she doesn't, she does know that, but it's always good to remind people,
I agree. Because sometimes people, especially men, I always say, have you told him or whoever it is? They normally say no. It's like, maybe tell them, while you're both still around, you can tell them. But anyway, that's great. Fantastic. That was fascinating. Deborah, thank you so much. You're doing great stuff there. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on and for giving me the chance to talk about it.
It's a pleasure, and good luck with the future plans. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Okay, take care.